Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Brittany Tiller and I'm the naturalist here in Jefferson County. Before I was the naturalist here, I actually got to work with Kathy Dice over in Louisa County, and we were a naturalist team over there. And one of the many things that Kathy is amazing at is wild edibles. And so she's worked with us before. Maybe last year, I can't even remember, it all blends.
Lacey Kiyosaki State.
Yep, so we thought we'd bring her here to Jefferson County Park, a little closer to home. So I'm gonna hand it over to you, Kathy.
Sounds good, and thank you again, Brittany, for this beautiful weather. Yeah. So I am Kathy Dice, and I'm down in Louisa County. My husband and I own and run Red Fern Farm. I bring that up because, ooh, that's an exciting place too. But, okay. And I have a few videos out about wild edibles thanks to this very talented man, Werner, Elmker. Thank you, sir. So like, if you like really enjoyed this, Google Kathy Dice, Kathy with a K, D-I-C-E, and wild edibles, and boom, the first you'll recognize this place that comes up on it. It's really kind of cool. He does amazing work. Okay, so this is a wild edible hike, and it is going to be adventure by choice. If you choose to do so, you will get to taste, touch, and smell a variety of wild plants. You don't have to put anything in your mouth, no pressure, unless you choose to do so. But I will warn you, please don't start sampling the green stuff just because you see me stop and start talking about some of the things. Some of the plants I'm going to stop and show are actually, well, I'm probably going to skip the deadly poisonous one that's actually lurking nearby. But I will point out some things that can cause blisters in your mouth all the way down, things that will cause severe diarrhea, and other things that can cause blisters on your fingers and skin too. Okay, I say that because I like to point out the things that people are scared of. Often when we go out in the woods, it's like, ooh, can I touch that? And ooh, you know, we kind of are really cautious about what's out here. After my walk, I hope you're like, oh, that's the one that smells really good. And this is the one I can nibble on and it's really sweet. And this is the one that will take away the stings from stinging nettle and stuff. You know, I want you to feel more connected with nature and feel more welcome out here, because there's a lot of food out here and there's a lot of plants that will benefit you, that will provide healing for you. And if you're in the sun, please feel free to come over into the shade. Now, there are some cautions. When I'm with you, I will actually hold up a plant and I'll say, does anyone want to taste this? At which point, raise your hand and I'll probably tear the leaf into small bits. I'll hand it out to you. Sometimes, if there's enough of the plant, I'll hold it up and I'll say, see if you can find one that looks like this. And when you think you've got that, I want you to hold it in front of my face. And then I touch your hand and say, yes, that is it. Because sometimes I get distracted and I might be saying yes to someone else, but not you. And you might end up eating something that does not taste good. So make sure I touch your hand. When we're done with you, you guys are going to recognize some of this stuff in your yards or in the woodlots near your houses. And you'll be really excited. I want you to make certain that you can fully identify the plant. And also be aware that the seasons change and some things might get more bitter over time. So be certain about your identification, make certain about the part of the plant that you're eating, and only take a small nibble. Taste for that bitterness, because it may be way past when you want to harvest this. And if you guys want, you can move into a shadier spot. You look like you're starting to get hot, but that's up to you. Okay. Hi there. Okay. So, be careful about your identification. Be careful where you harvest. Some of the things I'm going to show you are considered weeds, and people will put a lot of Roundup on them. And that's not a good thing that you want to eat. So if you go to your neighbor's yard, it's never a good idea to start eating their weeds anyway, because you want to ask permission first. And while you're asking permission, you can also find out if they've sprayed herbicide on anything. Also be aware that you don't want to harvest at the edge of a parking lot or a gravel road, because the toxic stuff from the vehicles will hit the pavement, goes to the side, gets into the ground, and these plants will suck that stuff up into their leaves and all. You don't want to be eating that. Okay. Does that seem like simple ground rules so far? We have now a big group. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to be trying to take you guys around on our walk. You can see there's orange flags out and about. That's going to be where we're going. And like I said, it's only going to be about 300 feet total that we're going to be walking. If you can't see what I'm talking about, please voice up so I can make sure that you get a chance to see it. And this is a big enough group, we may not have enough samples for everybody to get a taste, especially for this first delicious one. So we're gonna pick out a few kind of expressive looking people who will get to do the tasting and tell you guys what it was like, all right? So if you're feeling brave, and I have to tell you, if I ask who wants to try some, make sure when you put your hand up, you are willing to put it in your mouth. Don't just kind of like, maybe. Okay, so are you guys ready? All right, okay, so we're gonna start over this way. I'm very carefully harvesting this guy because they don't have a whole lot of it here at the park. And I actually picked some earlier and I put it in my Pepsi can. And you can see he's sadly wilted. But as I bring this around, I want you to note the deeply divided leaves and how fuzzy the stem is, and almost how translucent looking is. Is anyone familiar with this plant? Ooh, really? I'm stomping people already. I'm feeling so proud. Okay, this is called sweet Cicely, or, and I gotta say this word carefully, Anise. Anise, I said it right this time, because it sounds like, you know. Okay, Anise, sweet Cicely. This is a really nice one. Now, I'm going to take, I think, there we go. I'm gonna have you guys sniffing these. If you like how that smells, you can actually put it in your mouth. And you're gonna get a flavor kind of like black licorice. You're welcome. Yes, you're so welcome. So if you're holding out your hand, I'm giving you a chance to try some, yeah. Woo, I can smell it coming around. There you go. All right. Yes! Okay, so for the longest time, when I would do hikes, I would mostly just offer the flower heads to kids or the seed heads, and that was pretty good. And then I learned you can actually eat the stems as well. Okay, this is where we get expressive people involved. So who wants to try what a stem of this? Oh, and that reminds me, try to remind me before I offer you guys anything that I take a taste myself, because I need to check everything for bitterness, and you need to trust me. So whenever you're on a wild edible hike, make sure the person who's talking to you actually chews the food and swallows, okay? So are you saying yes, ma'am? Okay. So what did you think? Which was better, the leaf or the stem?
Leaf. Stem.
Ooh, I like how it's a little bit of both. Okay. Okay. Yum, right? Now that is an annual wildflower, so I tried to only harvest, it was coming up like this, so we took one side of it right there. Oops.
Is there a certain time of year you can eat it, or all?
That is an excellent question. Generally, I eat that all year long when I see it. In about 3 weeks, it's going to get really dry and die down. It's one of those spring wildflowers that blooms early in the spring. The fuzzy stem is your main clue that you've got the good stuff, but also you take a little bit of the leaf and you sniff it. You need to get that black licorice smell. There are some kind of lookalikes. I mean, if you're really bad about identifying stuff, but there are some things that could be poisonous. So make sure you smell black licorice before you put it in your mouth. Okay? Yeah, all right, cool. Good question, sir, thank you. All right, and we're gonna go this way a bit. One of the plants that I love to start a hike with is called wood sorrel. It's also known as sweet tart clover, sour clover, or candy clover. And I looked for 30 minutes to find this much of it in this yard. But usually this is an invasive weed. It's native to Iowa, but this is such an obnoxious weed. It's on the noxious weed list for Iowa. But it's really, really tasty. I'm going to first bring it around. I want you to notice how much it looks like clover, but it's got a shape of a heart. The leaves are not round, but heart-shaped. And it's got a strong crease in that round leaf. Very, very heart-shaped. And the name is wood sorrel. Wood sorrel. And this is one of your most delicious plants that you're going to find out. If you like sour flavors, you are really going to enjoy this. Okay, kids first. You like sour flavors? Okay. Okay, you like that one, right? So you're going to look for that, right? So as we're walking, I want you guys to keep your eyes open. If you think you found it, go ahead and pick it and show it to me, because if you're wrong, you're probably just getting clover, and it's not going to hurt to pick it.
Did you eat some first?
Oh, that was a good point. He asked if I ate some first, so I'm eating the stem. Ooh. And by the way, you can eat the stem, the flowers, the seed pods. Oh my gosh, the seed pods are good. Shaped like a banana, and you bite into them, and it's like a juicy warhead. Ooh, it's really, really good. I have one leaf left. There you go. You're so welcome. So is that one worth finding? Yeah. Yes.
I didn't get any.
Oh, I'm sorry.
At all. No, I got.
Well, here, try that part.
And what were the alternate names of it?
Kids call it sour grass, lemongrass, sour clover, candy clover, but the main name is wood sorrel, oxyalis, O-X.
I got a rhubarb.
You get a rhubarb hit, but that's because of the oxalic acid that is in there, as it is in rhubarb as well. Woo, that's good. Now you're gonna find that I really, really like to teach you guys the weeds that you can eat, because that way, with some of these plants, you can harvest a huge amount of them. You can make a mess of greens, and it can be a side dish for a family. And that's what this one is. This is called curly dock, and we stepped on it a little bit, but I want you to notice the curliness on the edges of the leaves. It grows in a flat cluster like dandelion. So many people, when they look at dandelion, they look at this again to see if it's curly dock. This one is good. This will come up about the same time dandelion is poking up, but unlike dandelion, this one tastes good. Now, you're gonna get a little bit of sourness when you eat it, but there's also a little bit of bitterness aftertaste, and not near as much as there would be with dandelion. But with curly dock, my favorite way of cooking it is steam it in a little bit of water until it gets all wilted and it changes color. Then I add a little bit of balsamic vinegar and soy sauce, and I serve it up. And it's one of the favorite greens in my household in the early springs, and you will find lots of it in a weedy yard. This is one of the things you want to promote for having weedy yards, because you can get good food like this early in the spring. Okay, now I'm going to take a taste. Make sure this one's okay, because it's getting old enough that they're going to start getting really bitter.
And it is.
Yeah, that's pretty bitter. I'm getting a little bit of sour. Now, who is brave and has water with them that would like to take a little taste? No, yep, not this one.
The flavor does change when you cook them.
It does a little bit, and when you put it in the water, a little bit of that bitterness gets leached away. Anytime you're working with greens that seem a bit bitter, boiling briefly will often lose a lot of that bitterness. And let me see. This guy also had, okay. Oh, there we go. Now this is a younger leaf coming up that might be a little bit better. Ooh, and as I pull on this, you might have even seen it, there's a little bit of slime coming away. The younger leaves have this kind of mucusy thing going on. That's also a way to characterize. Who wants to try a young leaf?
That is bitter.
You didn't?
I didn't
All right, we have one person who did not see the young one was not too bitter. All right, who else? That was called Curly Dock, and it is also on the noxious Iowa weed list. So you get to harvest that as much as you want, as heavily as you want. Ooh, okay, and another one. And this is another plant. I'm gonna pull the whole thing out because nobody cares. Because this guy is called shepherd's purse. It's in the mustard family. All right, and you'll notice the seeds kind of make a triangle shape to it. The leaves are very divided as if it was a dandelion plant. And also like a dandelion plant, before the seed stalk comes up, it makes that flat rosette. This guy, I never find enough of it to make a side dish, but I add it every time I find it to anything I'm cooking up. Stir fry, eggs, a pot of greens. As it gets older here, it gets a little tougher. Not bad. You can eat the stem, any part that's still tender. You can eat the leaves. You can even eat the roots. They grow this in Japan, apparently, as a domestic plant. Who wants to try a little bit of shepherd's purse? And I think we got enough for everybody to try some. All right, you are welcome. I see the politeness. That's so good. You are welcome. Would you like to try some? Here you go. Got it? Okay.
Purse is medicinal, and the midwives use it to stop bleeding.
To do what?
Stop bleeding. After a woman gives birth, they give her shepherd's purse to stop the bleeding.
Now, I have not read that. We're hearing a little bit about medicinal uses of, you're so welcome, of shepherd's purse. There's, and she was mentioning, I'm trying to find some that are still tender. And you're gonna see lookalikes that are gonna be, for example, around here there's a fair amount of garlic mustard, which looks like this a little bit. Yes, trying to make sure everyone sees the seeds still. Okay, now we're going down to the leaves, checking for dirt. Okay, I gotta wash these leaves before I hand these out. Where's my bucket? There we go, coming through.
Laying your way.
Not a problem. All right, put that in there. So, about 20 years ago, I finally realized that it is very important for me to clean the dirt off of some of these plants just because I eat so many of them, and apparently I ended up like getting maybe a quarter teaspoon of just dirt. And I wondered why I had severe headaches after my wild edible hikes. But okay, so the leaves are gonna be a little bit tougher. There you go. And Brittany, are you still around? Oh, okay, good. I'm gonna give you a couple leaves to divide up and share.
How big of pieces are you giving? Just a little.
Yeah, so like one leaf will go to about 4 people. What is your opinion so far? Sweet, okay, cool.
Thank you.
You are welcome. It's like, cool. Okay, now this is gonna be an interesting one. This is a type of smartweed called lady's thumb or lady's thumbprint. And it's called that. You can see it better early in the year. Can you faintly make out a red heart shape on this leaf? Okay.
What's it called?
Lady's thumbprint. It's a smartweed. Out east, apparently, it's usually more the shape of a thumbprint. So I had the hardest time identifying this, and then I realized it must just be a variation. Louisa County all the way to this county. That little red mark is heart-shaped. But whoa, is this interesting taste? Okay. Smartweed in the Polygonum family group. Now this is not one that I eat a whole lot of. And I can tell you, it's already getting a little bit bitter. But I want you to see if you can find a smartweed, because it's all over this place. So find a plant that's got the red mark on it, and then pick a younger leaf above that. Show me your leaf before you try it. And then you can share it. Yes.
right here.
See, right
See
there.
the
Kind of
dark
painted
mark
like a
right
little.
there?
Smart people are going from the cluster I marked.
Okay.
Yes.
A bunch.
Yes. Yes. That one might be a little strong. Yes. Good. Good job. Waiting to identify more leaves. Okay. Good job. Yes. That one might be a little strong because it's an older one.
That's one right over there, right?
Yes. Give it a careful look. Yeah. Now, make sure you show it to me before you put it in your mouth. Good job. Good job.
Yep.
Very good. Yes. Yes. And the older leaves will be stronger. Some people get a peppery flavor to it as they eat it. I'm just mostly finding it tough. Good job. What do you think?
We've already agreed.
Good. Good.
Don't they have
Good.
smaller leaves
Yes.
versions of that?
Yes, there are so many different types of smartweeds. Good job. Some of them will have very small, narrow leaves, and you'll see an interesting seed cluster head. Those like the damper areas. This is a variety that grows in the woodlands more. Very good. Ooh, try the younger guys the most. Okay, what is your reaction so far to the taste of it? Astringent, I'm hearing. Anyone hitting bitter tones?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit of bitterness. Yeah.
Tastes like the
No. Yes, but yeah. I was gonna say not lady's thumb, but okay. Cool. That is one you'll find a fair amount of. It is not on the noxious weed list though. So you won't find as much of it as you will the curly dock, but okay. Now, this next plant we're going to talk about is this big leafed one, so you can make a big circle around this patch.
Look at this one. Look underneath.
Micah? What'd you say?
Oh.
No, it's. Do you remember?
Oh, you're taking away my show. All right. This plant here has many names, including umbrella plant for obvious reasons. We're talking about this big guy. Diarrhea plant. But its common name shows up because of the pretty white flower that shows up in May. And that flower will turn into a ping pong shaped fruit that some people consider an apple. Thanks. Can you guess its name? Mayapple! Very good. Nicely done, people. And are you glad you're a little bit more in the shade now? Yeah. Okay. So this is the one that if you ate it, it would give you diarrhea. Do not sample these leaves. In fact, this much leaf would put a person, I'm looking for a big guy, that guy in the gray shirt in the bathroom for about 2 days straight, staying on the toilet. It is very powerful. In fact, the roots of this plant are harvested by pharmaceutical companies to make a laxative. For you younger people, that's something to help you go poop. And it will make you poop. It's pretty powerful. But that fruit that will show up, and you always look for a plant that's got 2 leaves, and there we've got a little tiny flower bud, but this one's in full flower. Now the caution is you have to make sure that fruit is fully ripe. Sir with the blue shirt who's taking a sip in your cup, can you hold up your yellowish hat? Yeah, coffee, cool. Can you hold up your yellow hat? Now everyone see his hat? The fruit needs to be that color. Thank you so much, sir. If it has any green on it, you're gonna get the diarrhea effect, okay? But when it's that color, it has a flavor of a little bit of citrus, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of banana, very tropical tasting. The skin is pretty thick, and the inside is like a tomato. Very juicy, got some seeds in there, but it's pretty cool. You don't eat the skin. I did not know that. So the first times I had it, I ate the whole thing, and I can tell you that wasn't a great experience. I didn't see why people were getting so excited, and then I learned that would be like eating a banana, skin and all, okay? So, yeah, all right. So, I know, you got a lot more confidence in me now, right? Okay, so when you find a ripe one, you cut it open and you just kind of suck out the insides. And I can tell you, yes, that is good stuff. That is really good fruit. And you will see in this patch right here, I can see there's going to be like 10 to 15 fruits. And those are going to be ripe around August to September. But every possum, raccoon, deer, and chipmunk in this forest also knows about those fruits. And they're waiting for them to turn ripe. So it's really hard to catch a Mayapple fruit in its ripe stage without somebody getting to it before you. If there's not much wildlife around, you got more of a chance. And what color does it need to be?
Yellow.
Yellowish orange. That's right. Can you eat it when it's green?
No.
Good job, people. Good job listening. This is one that I eat in the early spring. I will cook this up as a side because there's a lot of it in my woods. And when I got surprised by some vegans who showed up and needed to be fed, I went out and harvested this with nettle to make a broth to make some soup for them. So that worked out pretty good.
Can I see what the stem looks like?
Here, I'll let you hold that.
Thing on the stem that
Yes,
Oh.
look for the hug. It's the papery sheath. All right. Ooh, and there's more smartweed. Okay. This is good. This is good. Okay. Now this plant, I'm gonna pass it. It's a creeping plant. It's long, slender leaf. As I bring this around, if anyone recognizes this plant that again is on the noxious weed list of Iowa, give a shout. I want to see if anyone recognizes it. No, vetch is another plant, but that was a good guess. Like vetch, it creeps around long on the ground. Chickweed! Good job! Yes! Chickweed! And I used to say that chickens love to eat it, and I can tell you now, no, they don't. Yes. I would offer it up to my chickens. This is a great plant because it's one of the plants that will come up in February in your garden. And it'll be really low and creeping to the ground. It'll be like, it's cold, I'm staying up. But if you can grab it up, this is one with a lot of vitamins in it for you. And it's one of the few green things you can get in February from your garden. But in February, it's a lot of work to harvest this because it's way down there, it's small, it's got a lot of roots, and it's like holding on to everything. All the mulch in your garden, and you're like carefully picking it out, getting it clean. It's a big pain. This time of year, it's big like this, and it's sticking up well, and it's really, really easy to harvest. Okay, I'm gonna eat some for you. Now, I used to not eat this because it tastes to me like corn silk. I was not excited about the flavor, but I can tell you when you cook it, that's pretty darn good. It doesn't taste like corn, it tastes like chickweed, but it has a little bit of that corn silk flavor. It has opposite leaves, tiny white flowers, creeping form, and one of the things that I would do to identify it is I'll break the stem, and there's like this little fiber, won't do it on this one, fiber on the inside frequently, but apparently not now, that you will see inside, like a tube inside the stem. But who would like to try some chickweed? You'll find this is super mild taste. One of my favorite ways to cook it now is called buttered chickweed, where I will take it, I'll steam it, I'll boil it in like a quart of water. Okay, let me hear your voices about how chickweed tastes.
Very fibrous.
Fibrous.
Corn silk.
Corn silk, you got that flavor too? Okay. And if you didn't, so my favorite thing now is I can now get huge bundles of that when I'm out cooking. So I'll get a colander full of chickweed and I'll like grab up a pile of it like this, and then I cut off the roots down here, and then I'll hold it like this and kind of go like that, look for anything weird, and then into the colander it goes. So I can harvest huge amounts of it very quickly. Then I give it about a 2 to 3 minute boil, take it and drain it out, and then in a skillet I'll saute in butter about 1 onion, and then I put the chopped cooked chickweed into that, toss it with a little bit of minced onion as well as the sauteed onion, garlic salt, and maybe a splash of lemon.
Anything tastes good with butter and onion.
Butter and onion, yes, but it is a really wonderful green to enjoy. And when we eat a lot of ramen noodles at my house, chickweed goes into that. Egg drop soup, chickweed goes into that. My stir fry that I have every week, chickweed goes into that. Yeah, we like chickweed. It is a good plant. Okay, and we will be seeing more of that as we go along. And this is also probably a good place to talk about this guy. So what's this one? Garlic mustard, yes. And yes, you can eat garlic mustard. It is extremely, especially at this stage, very, very potent. It's strong in flavor. It's going to be even a little bitter besides just the garlic and the mustard flavor. But when Samuel Thayer's favorite time of eating this is when the flower stalk starts to come up, he will harvest that stalk and maybe even peel it a little bit, and then he will eat a whole bunch of those. I'm not actually even going to eat this.
Can you eat the flower at that time?
You could. Well, the flower stalk, you want it before the flower starts to actually open up. When the flower stalk first comes up, it's very tender and it makes a pretty good vegetable. I like to try to get the leaves when they first come up early in the season to make like a pesto. Just kind of grind it up with a little oil and stuff. But generally what you do want to do, anytime you pull a garlic mustard, don't just leave it on the ground, because this guy will actually go ahead and reproduce a seed head, even though it's laying on top of the ground. And this is one of the bad invasive species. So if I'm not near a trash can, I try to make it really hard for this thing to get enough energy to do anything. So I'm gonna just keep breaking it into small bits so that no part of it has enough energy to make a new flower head. And I would leave this root way up on top, and I'm taking off the little rootlets too. So it's gonna die. But the easier thing is just to put it into the landfill trash. But don't even try burning it, because you'll have garlic mustard around your burn pile. I have found that out. Yes. There is chickweed that has gone to seed. This is what chickweed looks like after a very hot spell, like the taste we had earlier this week. This chickweed's gone. You can see it's still got that creepy form, but it's kind of dried up. Isn't it? I mean, that doesn't look near as appealing as what you guys got to eat, right? Yeah. But this is an example of how much chickweed you can harvest. There's just a load of it right there. Okay, and we've got an example of the sticky weed, also known as bedstraw, also known as cleavers. This has a lot of medicinal properties. People have harvested the seeds as a coffee substitute. People have used it for rendering cheese. And you're supposed to be able to eat it. I have yet to try. The only recipe I have come across so far has been for the very youngest, tenderest tips. And they made a creamed soup out of it, boiling it a while. And then they strained the soup through a very fine mesh. And the reason is because of the hairs. This thing has lots and lots of very fine hair. So it
sticks to wool. Like
it will stick to everything. It is, we call it Friendly Henry because it is very friendly. We used to use it as a badge for when you went on hikes. So that is a pretty good one too. And also in this area, okay, well, and everyone's gonna keep a distance from me as I walk around with this. And what is this one?
nettle.
This is stinging nettle, yes. And this is, again, God's gift to people of Iowa, because this is actually a very positive plant, even though you do not want to touch it in this stage. Because right now, as I come around, you might be able to make out the tiny hypodermic needles that are on the stem and on the underside of the leaf. Can you guys see those at all, glittering in the sun? How many of you have been stung by stinging nettle? Oh, is that a fun experience? That is, yeah, it's pretty potent. It's got stingers, and if you look along, oh, this guy's not too bad. Okay, looking along, like there on the stem of there, you can see it.
I've got stung by them.
Yeah, okay, I actually can see, I can hold it like that. So some plants will have more stings on them than others. I've been impressed by that. And sometimes the venom is more potent in one than the other. There is also wood nettle. that looks more gentle, it's more potent, let me tell you. Oh my gosh, that stuff's nasty. But the really cool thing about stinging nettle and wood nettle is it's delicious.
Yes, you can make tea out of it.
You can make tea, you can make soup. Vegetarians, a good broth, very, very good broth, because this guy is loaded with vitamins and protein. And it makes also a really great fiber as well. This time of year, when it's this tall, after this much heat, I would only harvest the top 4 inches of this plant. And I would either use my scissors or I would just go like that. I've had a vegetarian friend who eats this a lot say, just be aggressive, just be assertive with it, and you won't get stung. That's not true, but. So this much I would chop it up, and then again I would steam it. Don't eat it raw. You can, but it does not taste any better. It's much tastier cooked, and you will not get stung. As it wilts, the stings go away. As it cooks, the stings go away. So delicious. In fact, this is a plant that saved a lot of people in Ireland during the potato famine. They would go out and make nettle tea, nettle soup. This nutrition of this plant kept them going because they would put the whole plant in the pot. They would eat this part, but the whole plant went in the pot to get all the nutrition they can. And we have more nettle up under the cedar bush up there. I'm going to show you the other fun thing you can do with stinging nettle.
And
Okay.
then I heard if you don't cook them long enough, it could make your throat scratchy.
Is it possible to get a scratchy throat if you don't cook it long enough? Absolutely. If you eat this when the stings are still potent, you're going to feel it. You'll feel it on your lips, you'll feel it on your throat. But generally, after about 2 hours of sitting on my counter, it's wilted enough on a hot day that I can go ahead and handle it without any problem. And again, I will repeat, and there's some crazy people who will actually eat these raw by pressing, no, you don't get to eat it right now, no. Who will press down the stings and then roll the leaf up. I'm telling you this and you're probably gonna try it. Roll the leaf up tight and then they'll eat it raw. I have tried it that way and I can tell you, it don't taste good. It's just not that, it's much better cooked. Steamed in a little bit of water, it tastes like somebody already put soy sauce and butter on it. But I go ahead and add a little more soy sauce and butter. It's one of my husband's favorites. Now, this is one you will see in your yards a lot. Shout it out. Violets, yes. Now there are loads of violets all over this park, but I was tasting all of them. And it wasn't until I got over to this stump that's apparently in a shady spot and has a fair amount of water that these guys were tasting good consistently. So I'm going to hand out some of these. The wonderful thing about violets is they are so loaded with nutrition.
And you can eat the flowers.
Yes, you can eat the flowers, you can eat the stems, and this much, well actually I better go like that. This much violet, you see these 3 leaves, have more vitamin C than 2 oranges from Hy-Vee. Yeah, I know. These are loaded with iron, vitamin B, calcium, and vitamin C. I mean, people, and pioneers in Iowa, would go out and eat these things when they felt a cold coming on, kind of like we hit the vitamin C capsules, you know? Yeah. Violets are very, very bland tasting. I generally eat them raw in a salad. My son, who hates vegetables, will put them in his ramen noodle soup so that he gets himself some vitamins. This is one I really want you guys to learn because you'll probably find it in your yard, and if you go out and start eating it, you will boost your nutrition. And you can freak out your parents. Some people take the flowers, and what I've heard, I haven't tried this, is you coat it in beaten egg whites. Did you get some? And then dip it in sugar, usually powdered sugar. Did you get some?
I got some already.
Anyone else needing some? Okay, cool. Woo. Would you like a whole leaf? There you go. All right, and then they dry it, and that makes pretty little violet candies. You can also just put the violets straight in a salad. with some violet leaves. So you got the flowers. By the way, when the violets are coming up, you might have your red buds blooming as well. Go ahead and pick the pink flowers from your red bud trees. Put those in your salad. They're sweet. They're not nutritious, but they're pretty and they taste good. And it's fun to have them in your salad. Yep. The one caution with the violet leaves is when you pick them, eat them right away or put them in your refrigerator. If you leave them at room temperature, in 1 to 2 hours, they develop a really aftertaste that is not pleasant. So when you get it for your salad, get them washed, put them in the refrigerator or mix them with your salad. But don't expect them to taste good at room temperature 2 hours later. Again, personal experience. All right, this is Smilax, also known as a kind of brambles, and I think this one is actually maybe carrot. Now, the young tips of these are usually pretty tasty, and this guy is growing really, really vigorously. Very, very tender. However, I nibbled on these earlier, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is not a good one. But I want you guys to come up, look at this bush, look at the tendrils that are coming up. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try this again. When I find these in the woods, they're pretty good. It's just juicy, a little bit sweet. I do not recommend eating this right now. Well, yeah, go ahead and try it. Who wants to be brave and adventure? This is Smilax. Smilax. It's also a kind, it's a brambles. You'll see. Yep. Go ahead. Tell you what, come on up. They're trying to get rid of this. Come on up. Grab a piece and hold it in front of me, and you can see, and I will tell you. You got it. You want to go for a tender tip? The younger leaves. All right, and then the last thing we're going to talk about is a plant we've already discussed a little bit. It's the nettles again. So this is what the nettles look like after they've been pulled out of the ground, and you can see how much they wilt. And at this stage, you can actually harvest the leaves, dry them a little bit more, and add them to soup later on. If you did not have good hay fever medicine, you can actually use the powdered leaf as a hay fever medicine. Back before there was good hay fever medicine, my husband and I would put this in gelatin capsules and we'd take like 4 a day. It worked! We were amazed! Because, man, we had bad hay fever. All right, but one of the cool things about this plant is you can actually use it almost to make a linen product or flax. There are long fibers that go through here that are very, very strong. All right, gentlemen, take that, and I want you to try and break it like this. Oh, I did that one. Here you go. This can make a super great rope and string. Who else wants to try some? This is nettle. Nettle. This is what people who lived here 1,000 years ago, they were using this as a sewing fabric. About, 2,000 years ago, they found woven fabric from nettle in tombs that people had spun it and then woven it. So nettle, it is a super nutritious, useful plant. I mean, I know it hurts when you brush against it, but it's still pretty cool. I'm trying to find some more that you guys can experience. So I've actually made string and thread from this. That's a fun thing. Did you say you could eat it? Oh, this is the nettle plant, yes. So when you're eating it, there's actually a fresh one here. And that one's not good. Come here. Notice how carefully I'm grabbing hold of these. So again, there's the fresh nettle. And at this stage, we would be eating the top 4 inches. So like those top leaves and then one more down. Steaming it is important. Do not eat it raw. You can, but there's no reason to. I mean, it doesn't taste any better. It's not easier. It's more work to eat it raw. It's really cool. But you do want to watch out for those hypodermic needles. And if you're making a tea or a broth, you can use the whole plant. So I would maybe cut off the tip and set that aside and then make a broth from the rest of it so you can eat the tops and then just enjoy the broth later. Okay. This is stinging nettle.
Oh, it is stinging.
Yes, yes. Oh, and how do you tell it from wood nettle? Wood nettle will have rounder leaves, and the stinging nettle leaves are on opposite, like your arms are opposite on you, whereas this wood nettle is alternate. So it'll have a leaf over here, and then a leaf down here on the opposite side, and then down here, alternating where they're at, and rounder. And wood nettle grows in the
Wood.
aha! Whereas stinging nettle will grow at the edges like this. It likes a little bit of shade, but it can really handle open areas as well. Very good questions, thank you. And we are now wrapping up. So I will be here standing for about 10 more minutes. If you have any questions, thank you for being a fantastic group.
Thank you.
This was really fun.